All right, James, let's take a look at your paper. MLA format first, it should be your name, then the page number, so you gotta flip-flop that. Everything's good here except you don't need a comma. Barriers, it's kind of a weak title and it's not centered. I think you can probably come up with something a little bit better than that. All right, on to your introduction, you start with a quote from Macbeth. Remember that your period is going to go, actually your citation is going to go right here. So your citation will separate that period from the rest of the quote, so make sure you do that. When you say this quote sounds familiar to almost every high school, I mean, are you meaning because it's so well known, or because I think you need to be more specific there with um, telling me what the quote is about, talking about Macbeth. At the end of the play, he feels like he can't, whatever, but he's still going to continue on. Give that kind of background first before you dive into that. So you talk about, wanting to quit, which is fine. Here's where I want you to clean up some language. Extremely hard, which again, you use it right down here too. So clean up, I think you can find a better word choice for that. Remember that you can't use the word you in here. Every time you use the word you lose a point. So make sure you fix those U's. In my, oh no. So anyways, you go through, you're not very specific with your junior and senior. A lot happened. I guess this next part is the a lot happening. Um, so I think you can probably combine those two sentences. This is supposed to be your thesis statement, not simply what it's about. I mean, but what did you learn about all these extremely hard situations? Because if you're going to kind of use the quote, basically you learn that it doesn't matter what life throws at you because you're going to have to endure no matter what. Um, and that's fine as a thesis statement, but this isn't your thesis statement yet. So you need to go back through and figure out how you want to fix that. All right, so your first body paragraph is about losing weight and joining sports to do that. A couple easy fixes. I was 25 pounds overweight, so go back and do that. For the most part, James, you do a really good job of punctuation. Um, so there's not a whole lot I would fix. Obviously, dumb errors like fixing capitalizing the I would be something to go through. I don't know what snakes are. I mean, I even played football and I don't know what snakes are. So maybe you can even like describe that. Maybe that will bring about like how intense you were trying to lose the weight, make it more real to the reader. But you have some good, um, good details. Maybe explain what you injured and how you injured it. Now, it's kind of jarring. I healed, went on to run on the long distance track team. There, I realized that I had no friends. Like that's a pretty quick topic change, and especially since it's mostly probably about what your second paragraph is about, since that's how you start your second paragraph. You might want to wait and talk more about sports and looking back. You do a little bit of reflection. I can remember wanting to give up. Maybe do a little bit more reflection about joining the sports team and what that did for you. Um, and then start to realize that you don't have any friends, and then quickly dump most of this into this paragraph because this really isn't what your freshman year your topic is. It's mostly about wrestling, and you just tack this on. So try to dump most of this information into the next paragraph to make it about that temper. Alright, so this is still freshman year. Make sure high school is 2 words. I think that's the only time you've done that, but make sure it turns into 2 words. So you talk about losing your temper, which again is good. You give some really good details about football and track and how that helped you. Couple things, punctuation wise, after I just praised you for punctuation. If I got upset while running, blah, 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 comma, I would be exhausted. To stay calm during a race, comma, I would tell myself. So just remember those rules about putting commas in and try to put them in there where they need to. Uh, I like once I realized that everything that people did seemed petty. It's a little bit of a reflection again. I'd love to see you really think back about those events and not just as it was happening, but now that you look back about your temper. And a lot of that might be the idea of, losing friends. Like, because of that experience, this is how I deal with friends now, that sort of thing. So just a little bit more of that would be would be welcome. Make sure that you have a strong transition into this next paragraph too as you move to your sophomore year. Now, sophomore year was a bad year too, comma, too. Remember, whenever you have that, you got to separate by commas. This really isn't anything new. Like, so you lost your weight, but you still had a temper. But that's basically one of your topics is your temper. And this you actually do some reflection in, um, as far as looking back at how things were. I guess no one wanted to be my friend because I still had the stigma of being a selfish brat. I think really maybe you reorganize this paper not by year but by topic. So you have sports, you have um, your temper. I'm assuming by your introduction you're going to talk about getting kicked out of your house and joining the Navy. I mean, maybe those are your four body paragraphs. I don't know, but this is a pretty short paragraph that doesn't do anything to really add to your sophomore year. So you might want to think about restating that. And again, I'm going to tell you that these next two paragraphs, even though I haven't read them, are fairly short. So how do they fit in the grand scheme of things? Are you just telling me things to tell me things? I know all of these things are things you have to persevere through since that was their message, but um, they're not looking that effective. All right, so um, during sports season, comma. So gradually, I think this is yeah, you used gradually as a beginning twice here. You might want to think about word choice. But gradually, comma, people saw. Gradually, comma, I earned the team's respect. Again, nothing in here. I think all of this stuff you can add to your sports paragraph. Um, I like the idea of being a wuss, and then remember to keep it in past tense. Um, they would think better of me if they didn't think I'm a wuss, or something like that. Uh, which actually transitioned as far as friends into girlfriend, which again, you can talk about persevering, but this is such a short paragraph that it's not really doing anything uh, in the grand scheme of things. If you want to make it a large part of your paper and talk about your interaction with girls and how that's happened throughout high school, I think that would be fine, but it doesn't do anything as it stands right now. Alright, so your junior year is still about sports and about joining the cross country team now. Watch for capitalization. You capitalize meets, which doesn't need to be capitalized. Almost is capitalized, which doesn't need to be capitalized. There's another one down in the next paragraph. I think kicked, you capitalize, and it doesn't need to be capitalized. So watch for that. What were you missing? Maybe add some detail there. I like the idea of it cost your body. Very hard. Get rid of that kind of language. You don't need very in a paragraph. And then you do a little bit of reflection here, but not that much. This is kind of reflection, but again, go back and look at it. But how does this work in the grand scheme of things? Because I don't know. I just don't know if it flows well because it's doesn't seem like it flows well with the rest of the body paragraphs. Do you put all the sports paragraphs together, maybe? I don't know. We can work on that together if you have questions. Alright, so you try to add a transition in here, which is good. It could be a little bit more specific, but you at least try to add that transition in there. And again, I'd ask you to make sure that you have strong transitions between every body paragraph. Alright, I would think that getting kicked out would be a much bigger part of your life in your paragraph. Now you say kicked out, but then you say after several weeks I felt I couldn't take it and had to move out. So were you moved out or kicked out? And I would make sure to go through and I want to see more details in this paragraph. Not that you really want to relive probably this terrible moment in your life, but I want to see more details, because this is a pretty significant event. And remember, your theme is about bad things happen, but you keep fighting on. So how does that relate to this paragraph? Because you don't really get to that part of this paragraph. Most other paragraphs, you at least try to get to that point. So how does that even relate to this? So this paragraph needs to be a lot longer, a lot more involved. But then this is what I didn't want to happen. Then you just go senior year and you dump everything in here. And I can tell maybe this was the last paragraph you wrote because there's a lot of errors in here that you weren't making earlier. Things like no space after the line. I I felt like your sentence structure isn't strong, your details aren't as strong. I just feel like, you know, and again, do we move this, you know, move this up to your paragraph about the girl, and make it all one paragraph? Because I think this whole last paragraph should just be about the Navy SEALs. Because you dump your girlfriend, the Navy SEALs, you dump being sick, you dump McDonald's and where you're trying to move to. I just think it's too much for one paragraph. It's just dumping a whole bunch of stuff at the end and calling it good. So separate that, make your Navy SEALs dream a paragraph, elongate this paragraph on getting kicked or moved out of your house a paragraph. I just think you need to do that because right now, I mean, the idea of being sick. Um, I mean, how does that even relate to the concept of, you know, fighting through? Which you could make it that way, but you don't. And is this really an essential part of your high school life? The idea that you've been sick, and if it has been, how has it affected you? Because you don't really explain that either. So make sure your works cited page is on a separate line. I haven't got down to that yet, but already I see that there. So high school, remember, is 2 words. So I think you did that up here somewhere too. Make sure it's 2 words. Uh, so again, extremely hard. We can fix that. This is pretty close to your thesis statement. I learned that I have to deal with everything that happens to get what I want. I think that's important. Now again, if this really is your message, and I think it really is your message, how does all of your main points fit into that equation? And go back through and look at that. So you repeat the quote. Again, watch for your citation here. So I did change everything about myself. My clothes, which you never mentioned in your body paragraphs. My body weight, my way of thinking, which I'm not exactly sure how that relates to your body paragraphs, and even the place where I live. So you got to do a better job of going back through those main points and talking about it. Um, hopefully, comma, I will get what I've been pushing for these last 4 years. I don't know, it seems like a weak clincher. This is definitely not how you do a works cited page entry, and I can help you with that later. So James, pretty good voice, and for the most part, not bad grammar. But really, I think about organization, how we're going to organize this whole thing. So hopefully, we'll see a rewrite out of you.